The first thing Vincent Moretti ever said to me was, "You have 5 seconds to tell me who sent you." 10 minutes later, strangers outside his penthouse were saying my full name. My name is Emily Carter, and until that night, the most dangerous part of my job had been climbing a ladder after 11 hours on my feet. I worked emergency maintenance for Halston Building Systems, although my state license identified me as an electrical engineer. Halston preferred to pay me like a technician and use me like an engineer whenever something expensive stopped working. Most nights, I reset control panels, replaced faulty sensors, and listened to wealthy tenants explain how a flickering kitchen light had destroyed their peace of mind. That night, I had been halfway home when my supervisor called to say Moretti Tower had lost power above the 50th floor. The primary technician was not answering. The backup system had failed. I was the only qualified employee still logged into the company application. I should have refused. I had already worked 11 hours. My coffee had gone cold. My phone battery was down to 12%. My rent was due in 4 days. Overtime paid time and a half. Those were the small, ordinary facts that turned my car around and sent me back toward downtown Chicago through freezing rain. Moretti Tower rose above the city like a blade made of black glass. 68 floors. No lights near the top. Only the red aircraft warning beacons blinking against the clouds. The lobby was empty except for a security guard behind a marble desk. He barely looked at me when I showed him the work order. "Penthouse electrical room," I said. "East side." He handed me a temporary access card and pointed toward the private elevators. "The system has been acting strange," he said. "If the elevator stops, do not force the doors." That should have been my second warning. The elevator climbed without music, announcements, or the usual hum of conversation from another passenger. The floor numbers glowed above the door until I passed the 52nd floor. Then the display went dark. The ceiling lights blinked once. Twice. Everything shut off. The elevator stopped sharply. Enough to tip over my tool bag. Screwdrivers and wire cutters rolled across the floor. I stood still and listened to the emergency brake engaged beneath me. "Perfect," I whispered. My phone flashlight produced a weak circle of light. There was no signal. I pressed the emergency call button, but no one answered. Nearly a minute passed before the doors opened on their own. A hallway waited beyond them beneath a single red emergency lamp. Thick carpet swallowed the sound of my shoes. 2 identical doors stood at opposite ends of the hall, both made of dark wood and neither marked with a visible number. My work order said East Penthouse, but the direction plate beside the elevator had gone dark. I tried to remember the building's orientation. Lake Michigan should have been east of me, but after a long shift and a disorienting elevator ride, I could no longer tell which wall faced the water. I chose the door on my right. The access card flashed green. The lock released. That was the mistake. The penthouse beyond the door was almost completely dark. Cold air moved across my face. Somewhere inside, a clock ticked with calm, expensive precision. I smelled rain, cedar, spilled whiskey, and the faint metallic scent of damaged wiring. "Building maintenance," I called. "I am here about the outage." No one answered. I stepped inside and closed the door because the hallway felt colder than the apartment. My flashlight moved across a marble floor, a long dining table, and a wall of windows overlooking the city. One window had a wide crack running through it. A whiskey glass lay on its side near the sofa, its contents spreading across the stone. I should have backed out. Instead, I noticed an electrical control panel concealed behind a framed painting and walked farther into the room. That was when I heard someone breathe. Not behind me. To my left. Low. Controlled. "You have 5 seconds to tell me who sent you," a man said. I froze with one hand inside my tool bag. "Halston Building Systems." "That is not an answer. It is printed on my jacket." Silence followed. Then a shadow separated from the darkness near the windows. He was tall and broad-shouldered, dressed in a white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his forearms. Even beneath the red emergency light, he looked too composed for someone standing in a powerless apartment after midnight. Dark hair. Sharp features. A watch that probably cost more than my car. One hand rested against his shoulder, where the fabric had been torn by broken glass. He looked tired, but his gray eyes remained steady, measuring every movement I made. "Show me your access card," he said. "Show me your identification first." His expression changed slightly. Not surprise. Interest. "You entered my home." "I entered the penthouse listed on my work order." "This is the West Penthouse." My stomach dropped. "Then the elevator opened on the wrong side." "The elevator does not make that kind of mistake." He moved closer. Rain tapped against the damaged window behind him. "People do." I removed my employee badge and held it toward him. His attention dropped to my name. For 1 second, the calm disappeared from his face. "Emily Carter," he said quietly. I had never heard a stranger make my own name sound like a warning. "Do I know you?" I asked. Before he could answer, light flickered beneath the entrance door. Footsteps approached from the hallway. More than one person. Slow. Deliberate. The man looked toward the entrance, then back at me. "Turn off your flashlight." "Why?" "Because the people outside are not building security." My fingers tightened around the phone. "Then I am leaving." I took 1 step toward the door. He caught my wrist, firm enough to stop me but not enough to hurt. "Let go." He released me immediately. That unsettled me more than an argument would have. "Listen carefully," he said. "The access system was disabled from inside this building. The elevator was redirected. Your temporary card was programmed to open my door. That is impossible." "No. It was planned." A soft electronic tone sounded from the lock. Someone outside was testing the keypad. I stared at the door, then at him. "Who are you?" "Vincent Moretti." The name carried weight. Even I knew it. Real estate. Hotels. Restaurants. Charity foundations. Rumors people lowered their voices to repeat. Vincent stepped between me and the entrance. "There is a service corridor behind the library. Go there and stay quiet." "I am not going anywhere with you." The keypad sounded again. This time, the lock began cycling under an external override command. Vincent lowered his voice. "You are safer with me. You do not know that." He looked directly into my eyes. "Emily, they did not come here for me." The lock clicked. A man spoke from the other side of the door in a calm, almost polite voice. "Emily Carter was supposed to arrive alone." For one breath, neither Vincent nor I moved. The stranger had used my full name with the confidence of someone reading from a plan. The lock clicked again, followed by the faint mechanical hum of the deadbolt disengaging. Vincent crossed the room and pressed his palm against a panel hidden beside the bookshelves. A narrow section of the wall released. "Inside," he said. "Now." I hated the command in his voice, but I hated the certainty outside the door more. I grabbed my tool bag and entered the passage. Vincent followed, closing the hidden panel as the penthouse entrance opened behind us. Darkness swallowed everything. The corridor was barely 3 feet wide, with unfinished concrete on one side and electrical conduit on the other. My breathing seemed too loud in the confined space. Vincent moved ahead, one hand following the wall as if he knew every inch of it. "Who said my name?" I whispered. "Caleb Ward." "Who is Caleb Ward?" "The man responsible for security in this building." "Your security chief is entering your apartment without permission?" "Apparently." He said it without emotion, but the pause told me what his expression did not. The betrayal had surprised him. He simply refused to display it. Footsteps entered the penthouse behind us. Someone directed the others to search each room. Vincent stopped beside a metal access box and looked at my phone. "Turn on the light for 2 seconds. The battery is almost dead." 2 seconds. I switched it on. He opened the box and studied the wires before moving aside. Can you release the magnetic lock between this passage and the safe room? You have a safe room? Emily. Yes, but I need to identify the correct low voltage control circuit. He pointed at a cluster of unlabeled wires. That one. That is not a circuit identification. That is a lawsuit waiting to happen. His mouth almost formed a smile, but the expression vanished. I pulled insulated gloves, a voltage tester, and 2 jumper leads from my bag. The wiring was custom. Some of it was old. Several control lines had been modified recently and secured with black cable ties. Whoever installed them had bypassed the standard emergency controls. This was altered, I said. Recently. Can you tell who did it? Wires do not sign their work. People leave patterns. Technicians leave shortcuts. This person used the wrong cable for the auxiliary relay and hid it behind the primary control bundle. I followed the added line to a small transmitter clipped behind the panel. A green light blinked once every 5 seconds. This is reporting the status of the locks. Vincent leaned closer. Can you tell where it is sending the information? Not without network access. Remove it. If I disconnect it, whoever is monitoring the signal will know we found it. Good. No. We need them to believe we are still where they expect us to be. His eyes shifted toward me. What do you suggest? It was the first time he had asked rather than ordered. I can loop the status signal and restore limited lighting to the passage. The system will continue reporting that the corridor is inactive. How long? 5 minutes if nobody interrupts me. You have 3. Then you have unrealistic expectations. People tell me that often. I worked by the weak light of his watch. My fingers shook at first, but training took over. Test. Isolate. Bridge. Secure. I could hear the search continuing on the other side of the wall. Drawers opened. Furniture moved. Someone tested the bookshelves. Vincent stood between me and the hidden entrance, silent and still. He had no reason to trust me, yet he had placed himself between me and whatever was searching the apartment. The thought did not make me feel safe. It made the situation more complicated. Why did Caleb say I was supposed to arrive alone? I asked. I do not know. You expect me to believe that? No, that is convenient. Belief is a luxury we do not have tonight. I connected the final jumper. A row of floor lights flickered on and cast the corridor in dim amber. The transmitter continued blinking as if nothing had changed. Done, I whispered. Vincent examined the panel. You are certain? My employer calls me a maintenance technician. My state license calls me an electrical engineer. Yes, I am certain. Something hardened in his expression, not toward me but toward the people who had underestimated me. Then they selected the wrong woman. They selected exactly the woman whose card opened your door. I pulled the temporary card from my pocket. Beneath the amber light, a narrow silver strip near the magnetic band caught my attention. I ran my thumbnail over it and felt a raised section. This card was modified. Vincent took it carefully. Can it track us? Possibly. It may also contain a secondary access credential. Who issued it? The guard in the lobby. Describe him. I did. Vincent listened without interrupting, then checked his phone. There was still no service. That was not one of my guards. My stomach tightened. Then who did I speak to? Someone who wanted you inside this building. The footsteps in the penthouse stopped. A long silence followed. Caleb spoke from the other side of the wall. She has the card, Vincent. You cannot move her without us knowing. I stared at the silver strip between Vincent's fingers. The card is carrying another transmitter. I whispered. Caleb continued. Send Emily out, and you may walk away. Vincent looked at me, and for the first time I saw something beneath his control. Not fear for himself. Calculation sharpened by concern. He placed the card on the concrete floor and destroyed the added transmitter beneath his shoe. The corridor lights blinked. Somewhere deeper in the building, an alarm began to pulse. What did that trigger? I asked. Vincent opened the door at the end of the passage. A response. From whom? Everyone Caleb hoped would remain asleep. We entered a compact safe room lined with monitors and steel cabinets. Most of the screens were dark, but one came alive. When the emergency power stabilized, a map of Moretti Tower appeared. Red indicators marked the elevators and stairwells. A blue signal blinked beside the west penthouse. Another appeared in the basement, broadcasting the same identification number as my employee badge. I touched the badge clip to my jacket. How can my credential be in two places? Vincent examined the display. It cannot. Someone copied its identification code and is broadcasting a duplicate signal from below. A message appeared across the monitor in plain white letters. Bring Emily Carter to the generator room. Vincent's expression became still. They need you to open something. I studied the electrical map. One section beneath the tower was missing from every official circuit plan, but a small symbol had been placed beside the concealed level. A circle divided by 3 narrow lines. My father used to draw that symbol on systems he designed privately. Vincent reacted the moment I pointed to it. How do you know my father's symbol? I asked. His eyes remained fixed on the screen. Daniel Carter did not design only part of this building. He looked at me. Your father built the system someone is trying to reach tonight. For several seconds, the only sounds in the safe room were the alarm and the low vibration of emergency equipment beneath the floor. Vincent stared at the symbol. To anyone else, it would have looked meaningless. To me, it was as familiar as my father's handwriting on birthday cards. You knew him, I said. Vincent did not answer quickly enough. That was answer enough. How did you know Daniel Carter? His eyes moved from the screen to my face. Your father began consulting for Moretti Development 17 years ago. He specialized in independent power systems, secure communications, and emergency infrastructure. I know what he did. You know what he told you he did. The words reached deeper than I expected. My father traveled often. He brought home hotel soaps from cities I could not remember, and always called before bedtime, no matter how late it was. He died when I was 17. A highway accident outside Milwaukee. That was the story in every official document I had ever seen. He designed something beneath this tower, I said. A secure archive. What did it contain? Vincent looked toward the dark monitors. Financial agreements. Property transfers. Internal communications. Names. Evidence. Yes. Evidence against whom? People who believed power made them untouchable. Including your family? Including people connected to it. I almost laughed, but nothing in the room was funny. My father worked for you. Not for me. With me. Vincent opened a cabinet containing bottled water, radios, medical supplies, and folders marked with dates instead of names. He removed a bandage and attempted to examine the shallow cut near his shoulder. Daniel did not trust my family, he said. He barely trusted me. That was why I respected him. My father hated organized crime. He hated people who controlled others through fear. Is there a difference? Vincent stopped. For the first time, the question seemed to reach him as something he had asked himself before. Sometimes, he said. Not often enough. I took the bandage from him. Sit down. I can manage. You cannot see the cut properly. He sat. I cleaned the area and secured the bandage. His posture remained rigid, as if accepting help required more discipline than giving an order. Up close, he did not look untouchable. He looked exhausted. There were shadows beneath his eyes and a thin scar near his jaw. Why did my father never tell me about this building? I asked. Because knowing would have placed you at risk. That explanation is becoming popular tonight. He was your father. And you are not. The words remained between us. I stepped back. Protection without a choice is still a cage. Vincent glanced toward the steel door. A cage can keep danger outside. It still does not make the person inside free. Something in his expression softened before closing again. He opened another cabinet and removed an old leather portfolio. The first page held architectural diagrams of Moretti Tower. The second showed the generator network. The third contained a photograph. My father stood in the unfinished lobby wearing a hard hat and his old brown work jacket. Beside him stood a much younger Vincent, thinner and unsmiling, with rain in his hair. They did not look like an employer and a contractor. They looked like two people who had survived the same difficult night. On the back, my father had written 5 words. Never let the lights go out. My throat tightened. Where did you get this? He gave it to me. When? The week before he died. The room seemed to contract around me. You saw him before the accident? Yes. Did you know he was going to Milwaukee? Vincent hesitated. He was not going to Milwaukee. I stared at him. The police report said he was found outside Milwaukee. The report was altered. By whom? I do not know. You expect me to believe that? No. I expect you to doubt me until I can prove what happened. A radio inside the cabinet crackled. A man spoke in a low, urgent voice. Vincent, respond. Vincent picked it up. Noah. The east stairwell is clear for now. Caleb has compromised the lower elevator controls. 23 employees remain inside. We are moving them to the conference level. Keep them away from the basement. Contact the authorities through the external emergency line. Noah paused. Is Emily with you? Vincent looked at me. Yes. Does she know? Not everything. I moved closer to the radio, but Vincent turned slightly away. Open the north service route, he said. We are coming down. Noah's answer came after a brief silence. Vincent, if she learns what happened to her father, she may never forgive you. The connection ended. Vincent lowered the radio. I could hear the generator beneath us. One steady vibration. One unanswered truth. What did you do? I asked. He did not look at me. Emily, we need to move. What did you do to my father? Vincent opened the safe room door. The narrow corridor beyond it glowed with amber light. I did not cause Daniel Carter's death, he said. But I am the reason he was in danger. That is not an explanation. Vincent rested one hand against the steel frame. No. It is the beginning of one. I wanted to believe there was a meaningful difference. I wanted to believe the man who had pulled me away from danger, trusted my judgment, and preserved a photograph of my father could not also be connected to the lie that shaped half my life. Tell me now. Daniel discovered that Caleb was selling access to systems your father had designed, Vincent said. He believed someone connected to my family was helping him. Daniel preserved the records until he could identify everyone involved. I promised to protect him. And he died. Yes. After trusting you. Vincent did not defend himself. His silence sharpened my anger. What happened the night before the supposed accident? Daniel called me from this building. Someone had discovered the archive. Were you here? Yes. Did you see him leave? Vincent looked away for a single second. The north route will not remain clear. You answer every question with another locked door. Because reaching the truth alive matters more than satisfying your anger in a corridor Caleb may be monitoring. My father has been dead for 11 years, and you knew the official story was false. You do not decide when I am allowed to understand my own life. Vincent's jaw tightened. You are right. The answer stopped me. Then tell me. Not here. There will always be another reason to wait. I picked up my tool bag and walked past him. He did not touch me. He did not block the passage. He said my name once. Emily. I turned. You told me protection without choice was a cage, he said. I heard you. He moved away from the path. The service elevator is at the end of the corridor. If you choose to leave, I will not stop you. I searched his face for a threat, a condition, or another command. There was none. He was giving me what I had demanded, and freedom suddenly felt less like an open road and more like a dark stairwell without a map. "What will you do?" I asked. "Find Noah. Move the M, please. Keep Caleb from reaching the basement. And the truth? It will remain here when the building is secure." I hated that he sounded reasonable. I hated even more that part of me wanted to remain beside him. I walked away anyway. The corridor ended in a narrow service lobby with one elevator and a local control panel. Emergency power had restored the call button, but the floor indicator remained blank. I removed the service plate and found the same black bypass cable I had seen near the safe room. Someone had linked the elevator's low-voltage command circuit to the fire control network. I should have returned to Vincent. Instead, I isolated the external command relay and placed the elevator in local service mode. The doors opened. The car was empty. A dim ceiling light illuminated the emergency cabinet and roof access hatch. I stepped inside. Vincent appeared at the far end of the corridor. "The lobby is 48 floors below," I said. "I can reach the street. The street may not be safer. At least it will be my decision." He nodded. "Keep the elevator in local mode. If the control light changes from blue to red, someone has taken command through the fire network. I know how elevator controls work." "I know." The doors closed. His face disappeared behind the narrowing line of light, and the elevator began descending. 58th floor. 57th. 56th. I pressed my back against the wall and repeated that I had made the correct choice. Then the blue service light turned red. The floor indicator went blank. The elevator increased speed slightly as the building's fire command system took control. I pressed the emergency stop. Nothing changed. A monitor above the buttons flickered to life. Caleb Ward appeared on the screen. Silver hair. Dark suit. The composed face of a man who expected every outcome to belong to him. "Good evening, Emily," he said. "You have made this easier. Release the elevator." "Not yet." "You mean you will not?" "Your father used to make the same distinction." My hand tightened around the edge of the service panel. "You knew him." "Daniel was brilliant. Difficult, but brilliant. He designed an archive that requires two things to open: his access sequence and a physical key. I have either. You have worn the key for 11 years. My attention dropped to the old watch on my wrist. Brown leather strap. Scratched silver case. The only object returned to me after what I had been told was my father's accident. "The basement system will recognize the mechanism hidden inside it," Caleb said. "You will open the archive." "No, then this elevator will remain under my control." The floor display showed one letter. B. Basement. I opened the service panel and located the low-voltage command terminals, but the ceiling lights shut off before I could isolate the fire service relay. The elevator slowed and stopped between floors. A mechanical latch sounded above me. The roof hatch opened. Vincent lowered himself carefully into the car. "Move away from the panel," he said. "How did you find me?" The corridor display showed the elevator switching to fire service control. "I took the parallel stairwell and opened the rescue access from the floor above." He examined the command terminals. "Caleb is controlling the car through the fire network. I can isolate the relay, but I need enough light to read the terminal labels." Vincent directed his watch light toward the panel. I identified the paired control wires by their printed markings, disconnected the remote command relay, and installed an insulated jumper across the local safety circuit. The red light turned blue. The elevator stabilized. Vincent used the emergency release to open the inner doors. The nearest landing was almost 4 feet above the car. He placed my tool bag on the floor above and braced himself beside the opening. "Climb." "What about you?" "I will follow." I stepped onto the emergency foothold and pulled myself onto the landing. Vincent climbed after me, but the movement strained his injured shoulder. His face lost color, and he had to lean against the wall. "Vincent! Keep moving!" At the end of the service hall, a security light changed from green to red. Caleb had located the stopped elevator. An exit sign glowed 20 yards away. I could have reached it. I could have left Vincent and told myself he had created this danger years before I entered the building. I moved toward the exit. 3 steps. 4. Then I stopped. My father used to say that character was not what people did when every light was on. It was what they chose when no one could see them. I turned back. Vincent was still against the wall, fighting to remain upright. "You should go," he said. That sounded almost like an order. "It is a request." I placed his uninjured arm across my shoulders. "Then my answer is no." Together, we moved toward the stairwell. Another alarm began to pulse below us. "You came back," he said. "Do not make me regret it. I have regretted enough for both of us." We reached the stairwell door. Before opening it, I looked at him. "Tell me one thing without delaying or withholding part of the truth. Why was my father in danger because of you?" Vincent closed his eyes for one exhausted second. When he opened them, the distance was gone. "Caleb came for me that night," he said. "Your father did not die working for me. He died saving me." For 1 second, I forgot the alarm, the dark stairwell, and the weight of Vincent's arm across my shoulders. My father had died saving him. The sentence felt as if it belonged to another room and another daughter. "When?" I asked. Vincent steadied himself against the concrete wall. 11 years ago. In this building. The report said his car left the highway outside Milwaukee. His car did. He was not inside it. No. Vincent looked down the stairwell, where a red emergency light flashed every 3 seconds. Caleb needed the world to believe Daniel Carter had died in an accident. I allowed the false story to remain because I believed it would protect you. My grip tightened around the tool bag. "You helped lie to me." "Yes." He did not soften the word or hide behind an excuse. A speaker above the stairwell door activated. Caleb's voice filled the landing. "Vincent has always been talented at turning guilt into loyalty." Vincent reached toward the wall panel, but I stopped him. "Let him talk. He is delaying us. Then we will use the time better than he does." I removed the smallest precision screwdriver from my kit and opened the back of my father's watch. Beneath the ordinary mechanism sat a thin brass disc engraved with the 3-line symbol. A copper induction coil and a sealed electronic transponder had been built into its center. It was both a physical key and an encoded circuit map. Caleb gave a quiet laugh through the speaker. "Daniel always trusted machines more than people. Machines follow their design," I said. "People choose." I studied the disc under the emergency light. 3 contact points. 3 power routes. 1 sequence. Never let the lights go out. My father's words had not been sentimental. They were instructions. "Vincent, where is the nearest secondary control station?" 2 floors below us. "Can we reach it without an elevator?" "Through the north stairs." "Then move." We descended slowly. Vincent tried to hide the discomfort in his shoulder, but each landing became more difficult. I adjusted his arm across mine and refused to let him pull away. "You protected me your way," I said. "Now let me protect us mine." He looked at me, then nodded. No argument. No command. On the 46th floor, we found the control station behind a locked maintenance door. I held the brass disc against the old access reader. Nothing happened. Then I noticed 3 shallow marks beneath the screen. I rotated the disc until each engraved line aligned with 1 mark. The embedded transponder activated. The reader turned blue. The door opened. Inside, the room smelled like dust, warm wiring, and old concrete. A narrow console stretched across one wall. Most of the monitors were dark. One displayed the emergency grid. Red lines marked routes Caleb controlled. White lines marked systems that remained isolated. I connected the disc to a reader built into the console. "What are you doing?" Vincent asked. "Giving Caleb the route he expects us to take." I restored limited power to the west elevators and made the basement route appear active. The red indicators shifted as Caleb redirected his people toward those elevators. Then I returned each elevator to a different secured floor and local service mode. The doors remained operational for emergency crews, but remote movement was disabled. That may give us 5 minutes, I said. What about the employees? Vincent asked. Where did Noah move them? The 32nd floor conference level. I opened the fire control directory. Caleb had locked 2 stairwell routes and left one route open so he could monitor everyone using it. I restored the 2 safe routes and disabled his monitoring relay. Call Noah. Vincent raised the radio. Move everyone through the west stairwell. Authorities should use the east emergency entrance. You have several minutes before Caleb recognizes the change. Understood, Noah said. The police have been notified. Federal investigators are being contacted because of the financial records. I searched the hidden directory for the basement archive. The system rejected every command until I placed the brass disc against the second reader. A folder appeared. Carter Archive. My breath stopped. Open it, Vincent said. It may send another alert. Caleb already knows we are inside the network. He does not know this location. I opened the folder. Hundreds of records filled the screen. Property transfers. Private accounts. Internal communications. Audio files. Caleb Ward's name appeared repeatedly, along with officials, contractors, and executives who had helped him conceal the network. My father had preserved everything. Can you send it outside the building? Vincent asked. Not through the main connection. Caleb controls it. A status light beside the console showed that the tower's emergency cellular modem was offline. I opened the communications cabinet and found a disconnected low-voltage lead behind the modem. Hold the light. I repaired the connection and restarted the modem. One signal bar appeared on the console. Rachel Morgan, my closest friend, worked as an investigative reporter for a Chicago television station. Months earlier, she had sent me the address of her station's encrypted source portal after joking that one of my wealthy clients might eventually confess something useful. I had saved the address in a protected note on my phone. I entered it into the service terminal and used my nearly dead phone only to approve the authentication request. The archive began uploading through the emergency modem. I sent Rachel one message. Verify every file. Contact the investigators. My phone shut down as the transfer completed. Caleb's voice returned through the emergency channel, but his calm had disappeared. You have no understanding of what you released. I released the truth, I said. Truth does not protect people. Neither does fear. I opened the emergency communications log. The maintenance system had automatically recorded every command issued during the outage. I routed Caleb's live channel and earlier statements to Noah's security console and the external emergency recorder. His demand that I open the archive, his knowledge of my father, and his attempt to control the elevator were preserved outside the penthouse network. Vincent looked at me. Daniel designed that recording system. Then he helped us again. Noah's voice came through the radio. The employees are clear. Local officers are entering through the east side. Caleb is moving toward the basement. Vincent reached for the stairwell door. I will meet him there. I stepped into his path. No, Emily. My father died saving you. Do not repay him by becoming the person Caleb expects you to be. Vincent's expression hardened. He may destroy what remains below. Then we lock him out. I entered the final sequence engraved on the brass disc. The archive disconnected from the tower's main network and sealed itself behind an independent power loop. Every access route turned white on the screen. Secure. Isolated. Vincent stared at the map and slowly lowered his hand from the door. He had the power to pursue Caleb. Instead, he chose restraint. Minutes later, the red indicators began disappearing as Noah's team and the responding officers regained control of the building. One floor at a time. The darkness no longer belonged to Caleb. It belonged to the system my father had designed and the choice Vincent had finally made. One final file appeared on the console. Audio message for Vincent Moretti. Vincent became completely still. I selected it. My father's voice filled the room, older than I remembered and clearer than any memory. Vincent, if you are hearing this, then the lights went out again. This time, do not confuse control with protection. Power means nothing if the people beside you are afraid to stay. His voice continued, steady and familiar enough to make the years between us collapse. You learned young that locked doors keep danger outside, Vincent. What no one taught you is that they can also keep good people from choosing you. If Emily ever finds this message, tell her I am sorry. I believed silence would protect her. I was wrong. I placed both hands against the console because my knees no longer felt reliable. Vincent stood beside me without moving. The man who had faced every alarm with perfect control now looked as if one quiet voice had taken that control away. He knew I might find this. I said. He hoped you never would. Vincent answered. That is not the same thing. The recording continued. My father explained that Caleb had discovered the archive 11 years earlier. Caleb wanted the records erased before they exposed the network he had created inside Moretti Development. My father arranged to secure the files and asked Vincent to meet him at the tower. Caleb arrived first. Daniel sealed the archive and redirected the building systems to help 18-year-old Vincent escape through a maintenance route. I told Daniel I would not leave without him. Vincent said. He locked the door between us. My father gave one final instruction. Do not avenge me. Make the truth useful. If my daughter stands in front of you one day, do not decide for her. She has always been stronger than the people trying to protect her. The recording ended. No music. No final goodbye. Only the hum of electricity and the sound of my breathing. Vincent looked toward the floor. I spent 11 years believing I could honor him by controlling every risk around the people I cared about. You built stronger locks. Yes. But you never learned how to open them. His eyes lifted to mine. Not until tonight. Noah's voice came through the radio. Local officers had secured the lobby. Caleb had been contained near the basement access after the archive sealed and the emergency recordings reached the authorities. Federal investigators were expected before sunrise. Every employee had reached a safe area. No one had been injured. Relief moved through me so quickly that it felt like exhaustion. Vincent reached toward my arm, then stopped before touching me. May I? He asked. I nodded. He steadied me as we left the control room, but his hand remained light, ready to release me the moment I moved away. Dawn had begun to soften the windows by the time we reached the lobby. The rain had stopped. Emergency personnel moved quietly across the marble floor. Employees gathered near the elevators with blankets and paper cups of coffee. Noah met us beside the security desk. He looked at Vincent's shoulder, then at me. The records are secure, he said. Rachel Morgan confirmed receipt. She is cooperating with the investigators. She is going to be furious that I sent one message and disappeared, I said. She has tried your phone 27 times. Vincent unlocked his phone and handed it directly to me. Call her. No password withheld. No instruction to monitor the conversation. Another open door. Rachel answered before the first full ring and spent 30 seconds demanding to know whether I was safe before allowing me to explain. 2 investigators later asked to speak with Vincent and me separately. I described the false security guard, the redirected elevator, the copied employee credential, and the mechanism in my father's watch. Vincent granted the investigators access to his company records, properties, and accounts connected to Caleb. One investigator asked whether he understood how much of the Moretti organization the evidence might expose. Vincent answered, then every part of it should survive the truth or not survive at all. Several hours later, daylight filled the lobby. I stood near the glass entrance and looked toward the street. My old Ford remained in the loading zone and had acquired 2 parking citations. Vincent stopped several feet behind me. He did not ask me to stay. The archive contains the ownership and licensing records for your father's engineering designs, he said. They belong to you. I do not want a gift. It is not one. They were always yours. He held out a slim folder and a brass key. The key opens the penthouse and the private control rooms in the tower. I accepted the folder but left the key in his hand. I am not ready to walk through your doors. His fingers closed around it. I understand. Do you? I am learning. I stepped outside. He did not follow. For the first time that night, the distance between us had not been created by a lock, a command, or a secret. It was simply space I had chosen. 3 weeks passed. The investigation expanded beyond Moretti Tower. Rachel's reporting revealed years of hidden agreements, and Daniel Carter's name appeared in every account as the engineer who had preserved the evidence. Halston Building Systems offered me a senior position after discovering what I had done. I declined. I had held a professional engineering license for 2 years while the company continued assigning me technician-level work. With the licensing rights my father left behind and the clients Rachel's reporting brought to my attention, I established a small independent consulting practice. I did not build an empire in 3 weeks. I rented one room above a neighborhood law office, bought 2 used desks, and persuaded a retired engineer to review my first major proposal. That proposal was a complete redesign of Moretti Tower's emergency grid. I returned on a Monday morning carrying blueprints, a contract, and coffee that was still hot. The elevator rose smoothly to the top floor. When the doors opened, the hallway lights were bright. Noah waited near the elevator, but no guard stood inside the penthouse. The west door remained open. Vincent waited beside a conference table. The damaged window had been replaced, although a faint line on the marble floor still showed where the old frame had rested. I placed the contract in front of him. These are my terms. Independent control of the project. Full access to every relevant system. No design changes without written approval. All security work must pass outside inspection. He read every page. There are 23 conditions. There were 24, but I decided to be reasonable. The almost smile I had seen in the corridor returned and remained long enough to become real. My compliance team will review the legal language, he said. The engineering terms remain yours. He signed the letter authorizing the review without changing a word. Then he placed the brass key on the table between us. You do not have to take it. I looked at the open door behind me. Keep it here. Why? Because I know how to knock now. He nodded. The most powerful man in the city did something no one had taught him to do. He waited for my choice. I stayed for the meeting. Then for another cup of coffee. Then long enough to watch sunlight move across the new windows. The first time I entered his world, I chose the wrong door. The second time, every door was open. He had ruled the city by locking people out. I taught him that the right person stays only when she is free to leave.